Okay, so the first thing I want to start off is what Anil mentioned in the beginning of his session is day zero. Day zero matters to us a lot. This is where you make a big difference. If we get this right, the rest of the deployment goes smoothly, hopefully. So what we've done is we've built onboarding into our dashboard. So as you can see here, for a given customer, given location, you can collect information about each of the different steps that go into onboarding a customer. And as you can see, we show the entire sort of project management of this onboarding, and we give you a green check mark. The screen is too bright, but you can see a green check mark, and if it's not there, you can see that it's a grayed out. And you can also assign these things to a delegate. You can delegate this particular task to someone on the team. So your team or customer's team, it doesn't matter. So you can say email, and you can put some notes in there, and you can make sure that everything is flowing correctly. Taking this data in, then you can start the process. So this is one example of how we think about operations and how we think about getting day zero right. So this is our onboarding, and this is connected to every single network.
So if you have a large deployment, I can import these on a spreadsheet or something so I don't have to
CSV,
click in here and fill
yeah,
everything in.
yeah, definitely CSV, but we don't have the Excel integration. But
Yes, CSV is
yeah,
fine. Yeah.
so that's onboarding. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the hub. So this network was built for this demo today. As you can see, the hub, this is what I was talking about, where you can have thousands of locations and you can see the entire hub in one shot. And you can see what's happening with every location. Okay, so as you can see here, you can take a look at all of your locations in one shot. And you can see how each and every one of the locations are performing and how each and every device in that location is performing. So this is one view. You can have a list view. You can have a map view of the entire all of your locations together. So we are on, I think, a cradle point today that shows. So there you go, and you can search your locations and you can see how they are performing on the map. So this is our dashboard, and today I want to walk you through a few features in our dashboard, and then also bring up a device, and I want to show you each of that layers that I talked about, the virtualization layer, how we interact on the whole of all of the dashboard here. So the first thing I want to talk about here is you can see that these devices are up and running. And the way you know this is you can go to see the homepage here, and you can see how they're performing, or you can individually take a look at each of the devices here. So this is the security appliance. As you can see, the cradle point is not performing great. Um, that's no surprise. And then that's the security appliance page. So here you can see the ISP availability. You can see the number of WANs. You can see the status. And you can see how each of the ports are performing and how the hardware is performing. And one thing I want to talk about constantly here is how consistent is our design. You can see that because of the virtualization layer, this hardware is this dashboard is representative of the actual hardware. So what you see here is what you see on the dashboard. This is the exact dashboard hardware, and you can perform any actions you want on the port. You can make it into a WAN port or a LAN port. This is what I was talking about. You can have up to 5 ISP connections here, and it's not a problem. And this is the switch. So we have a 48 port switch here today, and you can see how you can configure a switch and how you can navigate the dashboard. Again, to make sure, for us, operational efficiency matters a lot again, right? So the way we've designed this is you can see really simply, like you want to see which AP is connected to a port. You can see that. You can go to that AP if you want, and you can see the AP right away. So you can navigate back and forth up and down the tree. In the same way, you can see the switch here. I can click on port 13. That's where the AP is connected, port 13. So I'm back here. And the next one is the access points. So for access points, we've built in a lot of the health mechanisms inside, and we have our colleague here today, Apoorv, who can go deeper into what these health metrics mean, and he can walk you through what our heuristic on how we collect this. And we go deeper into each and every part of the connection as well. So we know when there's a roaming event, how long the roaming event took, what does the DHCP look like from the access point, and then we also know the DHCP on the security appliance, so we know where something fails. And then we can see all the clients connected to it. We can see all the broadcast SSIDs, and I'll walk you through the SSIDs as well. So
Sunil,
yeah,
pardon me for interrupting, but as part of your management monitoring offerings, part of your whole full stack offering, do you have a NOC that's looking at this constantly for that users call in for trouble tickets? I mean,
yes. So this is our NOC. So we have a NOC mode here, right here. So for meter operators, we have a different mode that the dashboard becomes, and this is our NOC. So we can monitor all of our customer networks right here. We have alerts built in, and for even more granular things that we haven't put in the dashboard yet, we use Grafana. So internally, we have Grafana alerts as well. So the amount of data we collect, we're trying to get the alerts more simply in the dashboard itself.
okay, so customers will have access to this. The customer engineering staff or whatever can be looking at this, do their own troubleshooting, or you guys will see things and proactively contact and help fix.
That's right.
Coordinate
That's right.
with them. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So before I go into the hardware itself, I want to show you how deploying a network also is quite different for the virtualization layer. So here, as you can see, we can set up any rules we want. So let's say I want to block a certain thing on a certain VLAN. Let's say, let's go to private VLAN. I want to block an, let's say, category. I'll just select a category, it's in random. And then save it. Oh, I need to name it. So you can do all of this without ever deploying hardware. You can set up the entire network, make sure everything is working correctly. So let's say you're setting up SSIDs. You can set up the SSIDs, and add any number of SSIDs you want. You can see here you have the securities, well, different types of security here. And then you have different protocols. And then you can also schedule your SSID. One of the things we've built in here is a guest password, or guest SSID that automatically is brought up when the network is first connected. But what you can do with any SSID is rotate the password automatically. So great example is when you have a guest SSID and the password you want to write on whiteboard, constantly you have to rotate it. You don't have to worry about that with Meter. So you can just say, I want to rotate this auto rotate. I can say every day or every week, every month, and it's automatically rotated. For every SSID, we also generate a QR code. And that QR code can be displayed on a mobile device in the front desk, on the front desk, or you can just show the QR code and you can log in. And you can try that today after the session. Okay, so let's go ahead and add an access point. So let's see. So you'll see a few things in Amber. That's an operator mode that I'm in. That's why I had to change the mode. So let's say I want to add an access point here. This is our access point, and let's add this. Let's call it APO2. And that's it. So now we've added a virtual device. I haven't connected the hardware yet. So I can go in and add SSIDs. I can say tech field A, let's say 2GO or whatever it is. So let's select this. Let's go to edit. And I want to enable on all access points. This means that as soon as I connect this hardware, the SSIDs and all of the configurations is fully broadcasted to every device or every access point. But let's say I want to only have SSID for that particular access point. So I'll add an SSID here, I'll enable it. And then let's call it test 1. It's visible. Let's select a VLAN. Let's say I don't want 2.4, I only want 5. I don't want to enable on all access point. I only want it to be enabled on APO2. Then let's select security, enable security. WPA2 is fine. I'll just generate a password right now. No auto rotation. All these are fine for now. So I've added this. Again, I haven't deployed the hardware yet. And this is just a virtual hardware that I've connected to. So this one will only be broadcasted on access point APO2. So now let's go back to the access point. And let's say now I want to connect the hardware to this. Let's see if this works. Okay. That's it. That's how you connect a hardware to a virtual device. And then let me plug it in and let's see. Yeah, this is it. So I've plugged this in on port 15.
Your cable management sucks.
Well, for today. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. We're actually quite good. This is not. This is not. Yeah, this is not.
I know. I'm
grabbing the
harassing
sales
you.
guy managed the cable.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. This actually really sucks, but yeah. We actually had a really nicely built. We call it the Meter mobile kit, which is completely encapsulated in one thing. What I did was I tried to read some into it and then pull a cable out. I just pulled the whole thing out. So the team, it's last minute, they're like, let's put this together. It was my fault. So as it's coming online, you can see that it's connected, and then you can see a few metrics here. First thing you'll see is it online, offline? And the second thing you'll also see is, can the security appliance see the MAC address? And can the switches see the MAC address? So every part of the layer, we take that information to surface it. So debugging becomes much easier.
Mhm.
And again, all this data is collected and we feed that back into command that Anil will go through in a few minutes. Okay. So while that's happening, let's see. The VLANs are set up. We don't need any static routes today. Firewall rules are good. We don't need rate limiting. Let's do rack elevation. So, okay. So throughout my whole career, I've debugged so many networks. And when I go into an IDF or MDF, the first thing I ask is, what does a rack look like? What is connected to what? And every single time I have to call someone or I have to go back and literally redo the whole map and then write it down. And I stick it over there. I go back and it's missing. And I have to do the whole thing again. And what we have done is we've taken that pain and made it into a product. So with our rack elevation, what you can do is you can add virtual racks. You can go to an IDF and you can say, I want 20U, 45U, whatever racks you have. You can add the rack here. Once you add the rack, you can add other devices to the rack. So here, let's say I have a security appliance here that's already in the rack and the PD is on the rack. Let's say I want to add a switch to the rack. Simple. I select the Meter device. We automatically populate everything. Again, this is the virtual layer that really helps us. So we automatically populate everything. And when you go there and you try to select, you can't select the same hardware again and again. So you can see here, only the switch is the one that's remaining. And I can say it's a 1U unit because we know our own hardware. So I can add this. And you can see that now the topology of the rack is set up correctly. So what you can do here is you can have it on a mobile phone when you go to the IDF or MDF. And you can also have on your iPad, or you can print it and just put it next to the rack. And you can add as many racks as you want or needed for that location. You can also add third-party devices. So we have a few devices that you can add to the rack, and you can have all of that managed here. So one of the things that we're building in the next version iteration is when you click on a specific device, it goes to the device. So you know how everything is connected correctly. So that's the evolution of the rack elevations. Okay, so let's see. My colleague here is going back and forth with the demo. As with any demo, it doesn't work right when you need to.
Yeah.
So bear with us.
But obviously, you're correctly detecting the interconnect of your devices automatically. I've noticed in
Right.
the previous thing, so that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Does it also do that with client devices or other things as they appear?
Yes. So if you go to Insights, you can see your entire network here. So we detect quite a few things about a client, and you can see that Abhijit who's actually here is connected to the network right now. It's live, so you can see his usage. Well, let me unplug this. So keep making sounds which are not good. So here you can see his laptop right now live that's broadcasting. So yes, we do detect quite a bit of things. And you can see the DHCP connection. You can see if he roams, you'll also see quite a bit of information about roaming. You can see fast roam or regular roam and how long it took and why it failed and how we can detect that up the stack. So is it because of the DHCP on the AP side? Is it on the switch? Is it on the access point? So I can go to the switch and I can see how the MAC table is populated, which VLAN it's connected to, and all of this information. You're right. So as you can see here, our APs are detected here. Our devices are detected here. Okay, so let's see. Cool. All right. Yeah, that's good. It's online. So because of bad cable management, we had some problems, but and that's fine right now. So that's the AP.
That was on purpose. You just wanted to demonstrate the
That's
process.
right. Actually, it became a great demo. That's true. So we do have our access point online. As you can see, that the way that we're broadcasted, you can see that it's broadcasting test 01. And if you go back to the other access point, it shouldn't be broadcasting test 01. So you can pull up your Wi-Fi analyzers and you can check to make sure that it's broadcasting the right things. So as you can see, the virtual layer is really powerful. It's a very small example of how we can deploy networks very quickly and efficiently and make sure that everything works correctly. So I've had the entire SSID virtually assigned to a virtual device and then plug in the device and automatically it knows what to do. Okay, so rack elevation, and then the other thing I want to talk about, 5 minutes, okay. The other thing I want to talk about is something called switch auto configuration. So we've all been in a situation where we had 100 or 200 switches that we have to manage and deploy. You never know which port to plug in, which device to plug into which port, and is it plugged in correctly or not. It takes a lot of work. You have to print out a lot of the port diagrams. You have to print out which device goes into which port. If it's plugged in wrong, you don't know what to do with this, and then you have to go back and check and unplug it. So what we've done is something called switch auto configuration. So the way switch auto configuration works is right here. So when you can have any number of switches as you want. Today we only have one switch, but it doesn't matter. So when you have the switch auto configuration ready to go, what you can do is you can map a particular MAC address, an OUI, to a particular VLAN to a port. So what happens here? Let's see. So I have a device that's connected. First of all, let's go back to the switch and see the MAC table. So we'll see that I think this is the device. Sorry, I didn't memorize my OUIs because we changed the laptop. So I think this is the device that's connected. But you see that on the client's page, you don't see that device. So let me walk you through what happens. So let's 1 second. Okay, I think that's Realtek. Let's see. I'm going to private. I'm going to say Realtek, and then I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to say everything should be, actually, hold on 1 second. Let's make this into guest. Yeah. Let's make this everything to private. And then let's run it. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up the switches to auto config. So I'm taking Realtek as the OUI, not the MAC address, but the OUI. And I'm saying that every Realtek device that's connected to the switch, any port, take that port, put it in VLAN 4. And any port that is not connected to Realtek, put it on private VLAN 3. So what's happening here is we run an automatic job in the background, and we analyze the data and then send it to the devices or switches here. Any device that's a Meter device automatically is a trunk port. So we know that. We know which one is Meter device. So we automatically put that in the right place. And then any device that is a Realtek device, we put it on guest VLAN 4. And anything that is not a Realtek or a Meter device goes into private VLAN. So let's run this. And I'm going to enqueue this. When you enqueue a job, we have a job section here. And you can see, oh, it already ran. Okay, because it's only one switch.
Too fast.
Yeah. So as you can see, it's taken action. And we show you exactly what action it took. So in this case, 48 ports have been affected. What this means here is everything that is not connected to a Meter device or whatever, it's just moved to a trunk or access. You can see here, let's get this, 17. Let's make sure this is connected to 17. Yeah, so this laptop right here is connected to port 17. As you can see, it's moved to guest. Okay, so this is how.
Now, is that continually enforced? Like if you move that laptop to 18, will it update?
Not in this version, but we also want to make sure that we're doing the right thing because that's a dangerous move, right? Because when you change it, you're monitoring, you have to reconfigure the whole switch. So we're in version 2, we're taking some actions where we don't have destructive changes. Yeah, so this one you have to run it manually, and you can also test run it, by the way. So you can see on the right, you can dry run it and see exactly what changes happen to the switches. And when you're managing 200 switches at one time, you want to be very sure what the changes look like. Because again, you don't want to go back, fix everything, right? So let's see if the job is done, and let's see if the clients come up. And we should see, there you go. So we should see guest VLAN here. So it's a wired client. It's a lab MacBook Pro, and then you can see that it's connected to 10.104. You can go back to VLANs, and you can see that the subnet for guest is 10.104. So it has automatically reconfigured that port to be on VLAN 4. So the next question is, how does it work with everything else? So this sits side by side with 802.1x. So you can have your 802.1x Mac-based authentication work alongside of this. Okay. So this is one of the reasons we've made it in this way, where you can run the job, you can run it manually, you can see exactly what happens, and then you can also have Mac-based authentication on the switches. So the other thing you might have noticed very quickly, I only have 30 more seconds, is SAMs. So for us, the authentication protocol, you can see that all devices that are connected have a completely different MAC address here. And this is the layer I was talking to you about that sits on top of the DHCP layer. So this does not use DHCP. This uses our own protocol, discovery protocol. And if you have a rogue DHCP server or anything like that, we are immune to it. Okay. I actually have a ton of things I wanted to go through, but I only have 10 seconds. Actually, 5 seconds, so it's running down. So I am going to stop now. And after this, feel free to come talk to me and talk to the team. I want to show you site to site how we test with 20,000 clients. So I want to bring Anil back for command. So thank you, and sorry about the cable mess.
Yeah, we'll cover a bunch of stuff, but some of the things I want to make sure that are in here is we went through some basics just so you guys get familiar with Meter, but all the complicated things you all want to do across firewall, DNS settings, how you want to set up IPsec, how you want to do auto VPNs to different locations, all of that is built into the same platform, including what we were mentioning on Connect, which is the ISP product, which can show, actually, let me pull up a live one. That's a test one. Normally, this is what Connect looks like, which is showing all the different ISPs for a particular customer at different locations. where Connect can pull up the different pricing, where they're at in the install stage, including consolidated billing so that all the locations can be managed in the same place. So it goes from ISP management, full routing, switching, wireless, security, DNS security, IPsec, and VPN all built in, including client VPN applications that should be really easy for clients to get onboarded onto and added onto. So the platform is that end-to-end platform for it to be available for network engineers in a single place without having to go through 5 or 6 different products that are not integrated and don't perform well together. Before I kind of jump into some of the command stuff, any questions about the platform? I know we covered a lot, or there's a lot more to see here, but I'm happy to answer 1 or 2 questions now.
Hi there, it's Malcolm. Good in here. Can I ask how do you integrate with the telcos to get the pricing?
Yeah, so our hardware has host monitoring built in that we built. So if you look at a security appliance, I'll show you on. Oh, you moved it to here. I have it here. Anyway, really understanding exactly host monitoring on our end that's built in into our own software. And then we have APIs that integrate with telcos as well to understand uptime and understand the routes that they have.
Okay, but it's more the procurement. Sorry, I maybe wasn't clear with the question. The procurement aspect. So if I need a new, does the product accommodate for, like, I need a new circuit, it's going to be FTTP, or it needs to be a leased line. I need to get a quote and then fully provision it, or is it like, what is this part of the solution? Just to understand it a bit better.
Yeah, so it's from quoting, procurement of all the different products from 5G all the way to Starlink with DIA, coax, all of it inbuilt, and then also installation and management part of ISPs as well.
So is that partnerships with the ISPs that you have then?
This is not the TFT one. Yes, that's right.
Okay, so it's partnerships with ISPs with agreed pricing for circuits, or how?
Yeah, we negotiate pricing for our customers as well, but it is pricing that we're pulling in live from the ISPs. Yeah, hey Denise.
All right, so for WAN, you said you have I had the impression back before there was like no SD-WAN type product, but then you just mentioned you have auto VPN. So you do that. So like things like your schools that have, multiple locations, you just set up an auto VPN to some hubs or to, wherever.
Yes, we do have auto VPN SD-WAN built in with all of our hardware, and also IPsec built in that could be from any of the branch locations, campus locations, that could go to a POP, or that can go to a data center as well. So SD-WAN is built in, auto VPN between all of our security appliances and all the different locations.
And are your security appliances the ISP edge typically?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And a router.
Yeah. And
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
Mhm.
Question. Yeah. How do you add, like, how does it happen when you want to add new features to a switch, let's say for a customer? It's a feature you guys have come up with.
Sure.
And then how is that distributed? Is it customer says, no, I don't want that yet, or customer doesn't have a choice, you get it whether you want it or not? How does that dynamic work?
Yeah, so that's part of the firmware release process Sunil was mentioning. We work internally building it out, dog fooding it,
Yes.
then canary networks,
Right.
and then work with our customers as well. Our preference is to always make sure our customers have the most up-to-date hardware and software,
Right.
along with all the different features as well. But those are also taken into consideration with maintenance windows they might have that they can set automatically in the dashboard itself, saying, we're running a 24/6 operation. You can only do maintenance on Sundays, anything like that. and then we work with the customer to actually upgrade the software for them.
The timing of that might be flexible on a per customer basis
Per customer and per location.
and per location.
That's
Okay.
right.
That granularity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because every location might be different. We
Right.
have
Every customer
customers
might have, yeah.
that might have offices. At the same time, they might have manufacturing warehouses.
Mm.
And those two run in two different kind of upgrade cycles and maintenance cycles.
Right. You also have, like, for the people, the network engineers out there, is there a certification, a Meter certification program? Do you have that kind of?
That's definitely something we're planning in 2025.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we hope to get a lot of feedback from all you all on how to build something from the ground up on a certification program for engineers. So Sunil just went through the network demo on virtualizing, the provisioning, the different configurations, our ability to really give granular control over every part of the network to manage networks to be much better. On the management part, as you'll remember earlier, we mentioned our vertically integrated stack is everything from hardware, products, data, software, and models. And one of the things that I think some of you have seen, you've reached out to us, is a product that we built really thinking about where does software go after CLI and then after dashboards. The awesome things about CLI for decades has been that you can get information and take action really fast. But the downsides of CLIs are that you have to learn the shibboleths of every CLI as you move different stacks. The great things about dashboards have been that you don't have to learn much, it's point and click. But if you want a feature on a dashboard, it might take 3 months, 6 months before you put in a feature request, it goes through a product development lifecycle, tested, and comes back. So we've been thinking about, because of our full stack, how can we take the best of CLIs and best of dashboards and think about where software is going after this. So Command is a product that we built using small models that we developed in-house. These models that understand how we build our hardware, how we built our architecture, how we write software, and how we design software. And we really hope these are the types of products that we build. Network engineers' jobs gets much easier to be able to do granular things. I'll go to a demo now of the network we just set up. So you'll see Command, wow, this is really saturated.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So this might be a bit hard to see, but I'll go through some features quickly on what Command is able to do. So you'll see on the bottom left here, what we want to simulate is tools that IT and network engineers already are very familiar with today. And one of the first things you can do with Command is just hit at and get to a particular location. So when you get to this location, actually, let me just use this network. So when you get to a location, you might want to ask specific questions about that network. So you can say something like, when was the last time ISP quality was below 95%? And what Command is actually doing is understanding that architecture entirely, pulling in real-time data from all the pieces of the hardware, ISPs. Oh, hasn't dropped at all. So maybe this network is good. But Command is going to go understand all of the different parts of the stack to answer questions entirely on the fly. But it isn't just to ask questions just about ISPs, but you can also ask about specific computers as well on the network. I'm saying something like, give me the health of this client particularly, and give me a 5-bullet summary. And this might be when we're trying to debug a particular client, trying to understand what's happening on the wireless, trying to understand how things are actually developing. Command will go look at real-time data. Again, this is a real computer that's connected to a network with real-time data that's coming in, and Command is analyzing and giving a summary about what's happening with signal strength, noise, transmission rate, receptions on the fly. But the other thing you'll see Command just do is this component that came in is a real live component, and it's software that's being written on the fly. And what you can also do with this is drag this over here to the right side, and this area is a full multiplayer area that can be between us and a customer and their colleagues, and colleagues, of partners, and others. And this actually came from when I studied networking, and we all did, is when we were in labs, colleagues can peer over and say, have you tried this command? Have you tried that command? And debugging together. And so you just saw my colleague David in there moving things around. This is real live multiplayer that multiple folks can work on at the exact same time. So command can get this type of information just by saying it entirely in natural language. And the last thing I'll show is it also can do full actions that it can take as well. So for example, you might say something complicated like this, which is for this network, go create me an SSID, call it this, put it on this VLAN, enable this type of authentication on it, rotate the password every day at 2 a.m., and then enable that SSID on all access points on a network. So command can take a complicated query like that, where when you're configuring networks, testing networks, and actually just take care of that entirely on the fly. So you can then put in all the different fields that you want to do for password rotation, for VLANs that you want to go in. But what you just saw is command write software, understanding how we design software, understanding our hardware, our data pipelines entirely on the fly. So maybe today you're actually adding a bunch of different SSIDs because you're bringing up a new location. And as you're debugging or working with colleagues together, this area becomes multiplayer. And then when you go into dashboard mode, you can actually just share this dashboard with your colleagues. And now you have a custom dashboard that was written entirely on the fly, just the way you want it. But this is really to show a quick demo of how we think about building the hardware, software, data pipelines, and models that can do really great work to help network engineers to do their jobs end to end. So I'll pause there. I know we've got about 5 minutes for any questions.
Denise again.
Hi.
Do engineers get to see the commands that are going to be put in before they're done? Or what, or do you even have access to the CLI?
So this is our version of CLI and where we think CLI is going. So when an engineer might say, like, hey, create this SSID, call it this VLAN, command writes that software, but it's still an engineer's job to review all of it. And when submitting it, again, confirming that this is how it's going to affect the network and execute it. What we want to shorten is the time between an engineer wanting to do something and not having the brittleness to actually needing to figure out all the different places and all the different commands it has to do. So it goes from natural language to software that's written on the fly that engineers fully have control over.
To GUI.
Yes.
From there to GUI.
Talking roadmap.
Sure.
Going forward, what plans do you have, or what are you guys thinking about? Other kinds of hardware, maybe storage appliances, anything like that you're thinking about getting into?
We love networking.
Networking. You keep it there.
We will build bigger, better networks,
Uh-huh.
but our focus is everything that has to do with ISPs,
Mhm.
wired, Wi-Fi, cellular, and we want to just build great networking products. We're not going to do storage. We're not going to do other things. Pure networking. Other questions?
They're right on time.
Form factors, like, so do you do stacking with the switches? How do you just daisy chain switches? Do you have chassis? Do you do redundant power supplies and stuff? Like, what's...
Do you want to take this, or Joshua, on how we think about different chassis for hardware and switch stacking and other things?
Hi, everyone. I'm Joshua Markle. I run hardware here at Meter. The question is regards to form factor and stacking and that type of architecture moving forward. We have, I think, 3 different very high-speed switches for networking that each will do 25 gigs times 6 ports on it. Not specifically stacking. We have it dedicated such that it can be connected right up front. That mates with our next-gen hardware of our 100 gigabit router or security appliance, as well as our, call it 50, 60 gigabit security appliance. So we have what we believe is the throughput and the software architecture that we don't need to rely on the stacking itself. Any other hardware related questions?
So you mentioned a couple times that that obviously part of the overall um, uh, procurement model here is that you guys keep hardware up to date. What is the typical hardware life cycle of your equipment? How often does it actually get changed out? You have a fixed schedule, or
I do not have a fixed schedule.
Okay.
But with regards to my approach to us designing hardware in next gen, is we want to make it the absolute best and future proofed as much as possible. So we add in as much flexibility so that it does not go obsolete in 2 years, 3 years, etc.
Is that the advantage you guys have because you're taking the CapEx burden off of the customer, so it's in your vested interest to have the hardware last a long time.
Yes,
That's true.
yes.
At
But-
least the hardware, like right?
That's right. And it's a balance between when new standards come out and we build new hardware.
Right.
But it's not that something new comes out and that's where the industry's going and we're not doing it for years. We think both have to be balanced together, which is the hardware that we build should last a long time and we should always keep up with the latest that's coming out. But like I mentioned, I don't think we'll ever be first to release anything.
Right.
We like taking our time. We like building an integrated product and making sure it works really well. But it's also in our vested interest that we don't wait a really long time to release something because then it's not a great experience for customers. And customers would definitely be unhappy about that.
how about sort of? Sorry, I know you were about to ask a question. But how about sort of incremental feature needs? So you mentioned you've got like 25 gig uplinks. The customer needs to grow past that, or the APs intrigue me here, right? Let's say I've got your dual band, Wi-Fi 6 non-6 gigahertz AP deployed. Next year, the 6 gigahertz version becomes available, and I want to enable that for my clients. That's something you swap out as part of the OpEx model, or is there hey, you're only entitled to a hardware upgrade every 36 months or something?
No, it's the former that you mentioned. We automatically upgrade the customers.
Okay.
Just a quick question on the hardware too. Are you guys do you do redundant power supplies, redundant fans, things like that? And are they modular? So if you like smoke a fan, you can like replace it without taking down the network, or
Right now we don't. We do for next generation redundant power supplies and single fan. We believe that we're trying to keep things as quiet as possible and as cool as possible. So we'll spend a little bit more money on a heat sink. I heard a gentle scoff over there as
Well, no, I was saying that's counterintuitive for the networking community. Loud fans means good gear, right?
I worked around too many people that had fans going at 100% all time. So one of the next generation things you'll notice when you try us versus someone else is the device boots up, checks its temperature with its internal diagnostics, and then decides whether or not it needs the fan on. Right?
Cool.
Instead of just assuming it's in a volcano and say, blast the fan.
Or you're at the airport with a takeoff.
It irks me when the fans are just going full blown.
It's that comforting sound.
For that as
The
well.
noise is coming
To
along.
get back to the point about the hardware and the life cycle, for us, we take a lot of pride in everything matters. And so for me, being a very proud hardware person, I simply want to build the best hardware. I want the best possible hardware. I want people to say, wow, does this ever perform really well? And whether it lasts 10 years, 50 years, et cetera, that's beyond what I'm actually focusing on. I'm just focusing on building the best possible hardware.
can you share who your manufacturing partner is?
I do not share that outside of this, but it's top tier manufacturers in Taiwan.